Here to do it for my computer. All right. I'll publish that later. All right. So here we go. Here is Bitcoin. I'm on the Mac Air. It moves so much slower. All right. So if y'all were on in the group chat, I dropped this in the trade room chat. This is what I was looking for BTC on the weekend. If you guys ever are wondering what I do now is I actually publish all my charts on TradingView. The reason why I do that is for accountability. It's a cool way if you are ever looking to become an educator or you're looking to do anything. It's a really dope way to actually keep yourself accountable, because you can just publish your charts and you can actually see, like, was I right or was I wrong? So I publish my charts here and you guys can see it. Anything that I do, I'll always publish it here now because it's just so much easier. I remember the first chart I ever really published was this one. I want to show you guys something here because it's actually pretty dope. I was just looking at BTC from a big perspective. And this is actually the April 22nd. I just got started with IM about like 2 weeks prior. But here's what I learned so far from this is actually from Cobain. I learned this, which was the Fibonacci. And I learned support and resistance. And like this is a big time frame that's on a daily, but like this is what happens when you like put your charts. You can always come back and you can always look at it and you can see how did you get better. And I was actually looking for this to happen. And mind you, like I'm a lot better now than I was before, but like if I knew what I was looking for, it would have improved my lifestyle. I went backwards, I'm like, oh, hey, look, I actually looked at all this. And you can see it, everything happening, and then even down to you can continue it and see everything else. So I didn't continue this chart, but like it's cool to see that. So anyways, these are my charts. You can go on the TradingView. Any charts that I drop, they will always have a published, and you can read my notes and read everything else. So just putting that out there for you guys so you guys know how I'm dropping charts and what's happening. I'll drop them in the trade room chat anytime so you guys can see it. And my goal is to be more present in there and make sure that you guys can see it, but also see my notes and you guys can read what I'm looking for. So in terms of BTC, what I was looking for on Friday was for us to hold this support line right over here. It was a support. Here's our 50 moving average, and I was looking for the 50 and the support. And we kind of held that. I was actually originally looking for this right here, which was the 50% of this move. So grabbing our Fibonacci, right, low to high, we're looking for a buy. There's a 50% right here. And when I saw that, I was like, ooh, bounce off 50, same side, double bottom, right? We all like these double bottoms, double tops. So like this is an area where resistance should have showed up anyways, because this is a double top. Normally you would sell off double tops, you buy off double bottoms, right? These are basic principles in terms of trading. And you could look at anything and you could make money off of it. Like you could have taken that sell, right? They're gone, right? It just, you gotta know when to, none of these are swing trades. So none of these are for like 10,000 pips or anything. What I look for specifically is I look for big trades. And one of the reasons why is because like I've been watching Picasso for the longest time. And I like seeing trades that take me like 4,000, 5,000 pips, take me to the next zone, right? So that's what I'm looking for right now in Bitcoin. I'm looking for Bitcoin to start making its way up. Now, there's a couple things that are happening right now. And I'll kind of get into it. So Mercury retrograde. So let's get into that. Mercury retrograde. Now, if you never heard of Mercury retrograde and why it affects the markets, here's what's up. Okay. I'm not an astrologer. I don't believe in any of that stuff, but I do believe that this is affecting the markets because at the end of the day, I've sat down and looked at it. And you can see a lot of people talking about Mercury retrograde and what it is. But here's how it affects the markets. So Mercury is retrograde. What that means is the planet Mercury is moving backwards right now. And it's happening between January 13th to February 3rd. All right. So what is Mercury retrograde? 3 times a year, the planet Mercury appears to travel backwards across the sky. We refer to these time periods as Mercury is in a apparent retrograde motion, or simply Mercury retrograde. To those who practice astrology, blah, blah, blah. I don't practice astrology. So I don't really want to get too deep into all this, but what I've noticed in terms of the market, this is a weird time in the market. People make bad decisions and people say dumb things and people do dumb things. It's really actually hard to read the markets. And ever since Mercury was in retrograde, so let me show you something here. So Mercury went into retrograde January the 13th, which was here. January 13th, which was here. And it comes out of retrograde February 3rd. Okay, so here's an interesting thing. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple of charts. We will go indices. Okay, Mercury retrograde was January 13th. February 3rd. Y'all think this is like just like just kind of like a Bitcoin thing, right? Nope. January 13th. February 3rd. So this is what's happening in all markets. Markets are slumping. Why? Why is market slumping? And you could say, I'm not saying, oh, it's because Mercury's in retrograde. The planet Mercury is moving backwards, so therefore everyone's kind of weird. Well, it affects a lot of things. It affects everything from the tide moving in to people making decisions, right? So here's Mercury, January 13th. Absolutely big nothing burger. Oh, here's a gold trade for anyone that trades gold. Looking for this area to get hit by February 3rd. Oh, didn't put there. So what we can see is that this has been affecting the entire market. It makes it very difficult to trade a market when you can't predict where it's going to. This is a giant nothing burger, right? If you look at gold from December 14th, you're in the same place. So if you did absolutely nothing, let's say you took the trade right here, but you never took profit, you just lost everything, right? And so this is why, like, you got to make sure that you're looking at the market from a perspective of what's going on. Okay, so we know that there's Mercury and it's in retrograde. Okay, so let me put that here. I'm going to break this down for you guys and what I'm looking for specifically in BTC, because right now, when the markets get really trash like this, my goal, my thought process is like, all right, what is Bitcoin doing? And until I can figure out what Bitcoin's doing, it's really difficult for me to kind of figure out like what altcoin I'm going to put my money into. I'm always dollar cost averaging, and I would suggest you do too. It's a great area. We got a lot of things are on sale. I'll show you guys some of that stuff. But first and foremost, if Bitcoin is going to start making its way down, there's a couple things that it will do. Okay, so let's drop into the weekly. So we're going to get into a higher time frame. So there was a thing that I've been talking about, which is a running flat correction. We kind of did that through these waves here. Now, if this is a running flat correction, at the end of the day, we can come down. We just can't close down. So for this to be a running flat correction, this is where it generally will turn around. There are two things that I'm looking at right now. One is that every single person and their mom is saying the same thing. BTC is going to head down, 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 down. Now, oftentimes when everyone's saying the same thing, you have to be on the side of like, well, what are the masses saying? The masses want it to come down. Now, we do have an imbalance here. We do have an imbalance here. And imbalances in the market are where the market is just going in one direction and there's no downward direction. Normally, the market always encloses the imbalances. You can see the market always comes and closes imbalances, except for this imbalance down here. We actually came down for this one. Now we have a last down candle here. We interfered with it on the 50% of it. If this market's going to turn around, it could do one more wave down and sweep, right? So one thing that I know a lot of people are talking about, and I see this happening as well, where this happens, where we come down and just like scoop and then go up, right? And the reason why I can see that happening is because at the end of the day, there is a lot of liquidity to the downside here, right? So we have liquidity. And whenever there's so much liquidity to the downside, oftentimes the market will come for it, right? Now we have liquidity to the upside here. So we got liquidity. And liquidity, all that means is pockets of money, right? So where's the money? That's the game you're always playing. The game I'm always playing is where's the money? Right now, there is some money to the upside, but there is a lot of money still on the downside. We can tell, because at the end of the day, there's also money here. These are stop losses. These are areas where people have placed their stop loss because they think that they're safe, right? Are you ever safe in this market? No. So you never want to be in a place where you're like, I'm safe, I'm good. Don't ever be like that. But the thing about Bitcoin is that it does that sometimes too. So Bitcoin's a bit different than every other traditional market, because at the end of the day, we leave pockets of liquidity in places. Like, for instance, this right here, that was enough to rebalance the market. I mean, I think so, but like, we left the pocket right here. So like right here, even right here, we never came back down here, right? And there's times where the market doesn't come back down, even though everyone wants it to. So the favoring side of it that I'm looking at is that, yes, there are pockets of liquidity to the downside, but if the masses want the market to come down, I will go on the side of the opposite and say that this market will push up, merely because the fact there's two things that I was looking at. One is the interest rates got pushed back to, it got pushed back to March 25th, I'm sure. The next meeting, interest rates. So that's interest rates meeting is going to be March, I think it's March 25th, which gives us roughly about 3 months. Why am I going there? I might as well just go to Forex Factory. Why am I going there? Forex Factory. Okay. And at that point, it will no longer be advantageous for you to hold money, but it's not from like day one, right? Because it doesn't work like that. So if they raise interest rates, right? And I'm kind of giving you guys the bigger picture of what's happening, so you guys can see crypto runs in a certain manner and fashion. Next month. Okay. I can't get. Okay. Actually, what am I doing? I already know when it is. This month. Apply setting. They show you right here. Okay, so they already show you when the next day that they meet is. So they talked about interest rates on. Oh, I shouldn't have did that. Sorry, guys. I'm on monthly. I thought I was on daily. Okay, boom. Okay, so they talked about interest rates on the right here. So if you guys wondered why the market was just moving all around, is because of this. This is when they talked about interest rates, right? The next time that these guys meet is March 16th. So at the end of the day, you can expect some sort of movement to happen around then. So if we are going to make our way down, we can make our way down before then. But at that point, that will probably be either the nail in the coffin, like the dead cat bounce, retesting the 50 on the weekly and coming down, or will be the thing that pushes, or the catalyst that pushes it up. Now, here's the reason why. Because if they announce, let's say, for instance, that the next time that they meet, they announce that the interest rates are going to go up, how high can they go up? So let's explore this, because this has to do with BTC in a longer run. You got to kind of understand, like, why would the interest rates have to do with BTC? And not a lot of people talk about this, because Bitcoin does its own thing, but it doesn't, because it takes money, it takes capital, and people are borrowing money, right? So if everyone's borrowing money, right, at some point, this thing needs to come back up, right? Now, this is the US interest rates, right? Just on a weekly level. I don't look at these things on like less than weekly, because it doesn't make sense on a daily. Like, you gotta look at it from a bigger time frame. At some point, we do need to make our way back up. Now, if interest rates start making its way back up, that means that everything paired against the dollar starts making its way back down, because people are taking their money out of assets and paying back loans. Now, how much of a rate hike do you think will happen between now and March? So when March comes around, how high do you think this is going to go? Well, let's take a look at other rate hikes. Okay, so this would have been a rate hike here. So we went from 0.25 to 0.5. So most likely, the rate hike in March will probably take us to 0.5. Now, they said they're going to do 3 rate hikes. So, right, so this got us to 7.4. This got us to 1. and this got us to 1.24. This is a bunch of rate hikes, and it literally happened after it happened in November, December. It happened in October. So this happened December. It didn't happen again. They didn't raise the rates again until 2016. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Interest is now at 250. Now here's the interesting thing. This is now the most interesting thing you got to understand. Look at the year. The year is 2016. What was Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin's going up. What was the stock market doing? And so a lot of times we talk about this. This is the US 30, 2016. What was the stock market doing? Oh, what the? Why is this US 30 not giving me that? Give me the proper US 30. It'd be here. And I'm going to show you guys. There it is. FXCM. There we go. There we go. 2016. What was the stock market doing? Now I'm letting you guys see this so you guys can see, because there's people who are saying Bitcoin is coupled with the stock market. Right? 2016, 2017. Boom. Bitcoin's coupled with the stock market. What was the interest rate doing? You remember? Do you remember what was happening with the interest rates? So I'm showing you guys this so you guys have this long-term vision of what the market's doing, so you guys can understand like what's really happening in this market, because you have to. This is the part that really helps you make decisions on, should I take out money? Should I borrow? Should I be borrowing money? Never borrow money, but I mean, you can do whatever you want. United States. I can't tell you to go borrow money, but at the end of the day, if you're in the States, it costs 0.25 for you to take a loan out. Now, taking a loan out to do investing is one of the worst investings you can do. They say take loans out to buy assets. But if you're buying an asset that can potentially go down and disappear, that's very risky. So it depends on your risk. Okay, so we're analyzing here, we're understanding here. So what happened in 2016, 2015, 2016, the interest rates going up. But the reaction in the stock market was it heading up. But everyone said when you raise interest rates, the markets will start going down. I think everyone is lying to me, because when I do the analysis here, this should be on a correlation where this should be dropping down, not shooting up. It costs more money for people to borrow. How is this heading up? There's a reason for that. At the end of the day, even if it costs more money for people to borrow, the initial shock will be a dip in the market, but then the market will continue rising. And the reason why is because people continually buy assets, barring the fact of any black swan event. You should see continuations happen in every single market. So the reason why I compare the stock market and then now I'm going to go to crypto back into Bitcoin, because understanding how markets move is what you want to be understanding, and comparing it to this is a lot simpler than looking at like a Forex pair. Right, this is the US 30, Dow Jones, or S&P 500 are probably the easiest things for you to look at and compare to Bitcoin rather than looking at anything else. So here's the next thing about, and I'm going to show you guys this. Okay, just understanding more market analysis. These are called matrices. Okay, so I can go deeper into this. So it's called a matrix. What is a matrix? A matrix is when you can find different market. You can find the different plays that happen in different markets, and you can see it happen over and over and over again. So it's like not the style of the market, or it's the way the market's moving. FTMO. Pretty sure I have my. Okay, I'll use this one anyways. So if we look back at the S&P 500, it gives us a similar market structure to Bitcoin right here. So what do we have here? Oh, look at that. Ain't that something? A double top. Okay, so let's analyze what's happening here, so you guys can see what I'm talking about in terms of a sweep. So, but a bit different, because look what happened, right? We dropped down and it came up, came down, swept one more time, swept these lows, and came down really low. Now, let's look at the correlation of, let's take a look at a correlation point with, let's utilize Fibonacci. Okay. So I'll go to this low, and that's roughly about a 786. If I was to go to this right here, it's about a 886. Okay. Which is, we can find out on Bitcoin. I'll find out on Bitcoin so you guys can see similarities, right? But what do we see happen here? We see a sweep and then a continuation. So is that possible for Bitcoin to do that? Yes, right? This is where the market can do whatever it wants, but understanding what you're looking at really helps. So we have a high, low, high, double top. And now most people would have been looking at this, right? And they would expect this thing to come crashing down all the way down to, like, let's say, for instance, here. Because if you look, this is like the last type of area where we bounced off from. Like, I mean, here, I guess, is another area that we bounced off from, and it chose to come there. Okay, so now we have the S&P 500, and we can see a way that the market moves. But what happens next? And this is all weekly, right? So it's a big time frame. It just starts shooting up. Now, the thing about Bitcoin is more parabolic than any of this, because we're talking about the adoption of a new technology. We're not just talking about price action, right? This is not just the adoption of a new technology. Like, this is not just people buying stuff in the United States. It's the top 500 companies in the United States. Therefore, it's about consumerism. That's all the stock market is about. This is about technology. So what we're talking about here, what we're looking at, is we're getting to see the adoption curve of a new tech, right? And as the price continues going, let me give you a clean chart here. Used USD. Okay, Coinbase. Oh, it's already here. Oh, you're already here, huh? I'll take FTX. Okay. You guys don't know this is Blockfolio. So what we have here is we have a new technology that's ever growing. Now, we got to the 886 here. We held support here, okay? So the one thing that you have to look for is that if we're going to break from support, here is our support level, 34,165. If we break lower than that, because you can see here's your low, here's your high, it looks like we're dropping lower on the weekly. So if we're going to break lower than that, then we can, but now you got to bring your fib down lower. So where would our fib go? Well, this is our last localized point. This is where everyone's kind of looking at right now, and I've heard people talk about this getting down here. Can it get down there? I mean, here is a imbalance, and it's the same imbalance that I showed you guys before. Am I telling you guys right now that Bitcoin's going to drop down to 22,000? No. I'm telling you something in terms of making sure that you can react towards it. And I'm showing you different plays that you guys can see. So if you guys see it happen, you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, what's happening in the market? The goal is to be in control, because at the end of the day, okay, there's two ways this market's going to go. I was talking to my cousin earlier about this, and I was just telling him, like, there's only two ways this market's going to go. And when it's like this, it's doing absolutely nothing. And this is not the time for you to pull out, right? It is a time for you to buy. And it's weird to say that, but it's always, if you're dollar cost averaging, it's a discipline. It's not a matter of like, is this the right time? It's a matter of, I do it regardless, okay? Dollar cost averaging is different than you trying to make a play on your investment, okay? Timing the market and dollar cost averaging are not the same. So if you're just going to plainly just dollar cost average, then it doesn't matter where the price is. Turn off the screen, stop paying attention to the price, and just keep dollar cost averaging, because long term, we're going to head back up. But if you're more trying to figure out, like, what's the play that I want to do right now? Am I trying to go all in on Bitcoin? Am I going to take a loan out? How much can I borrow against my loan? What could I do against my loan? Once again, taking a loan out to put into Bitcoin, highly risky. I wouldn't advise anyone to do that. None of this is financial advice, so you can do whatever the heck you want anyways. But realistically, you don't want to be the person taking loans out to get into any asset like this. You take loans out to get into houses, take loans out to get into other stuff, but Bitcoin's so risky. And if you're a brand new investor, taking a loan out can be very, very, what's the right word? Risky. That's the only word for it. Risky, very, very risky. Okay, so what do we see in terms of confluence here? We see a 618 retracement. So if this was going to be our low point, right, based off of the low, high, higher low, right? So I'm taking a look at this low as our low point. I'm taking a look at this high as our high point. And if this is a 618, then we're holding the 618. So if I'm looking at this right now on a weekly perspective, for me, I'm looking at it to turn around. Now, if we cannot hold the 618 on a weekly, so now you're going to have to wait till next week. And let's say, for instance, we come back here and then we come back and we fail to get above, at that point, we're just going to be continuing downwards, right? So you got to understand this. If we can't get out of the zone and we keep on just testing the bottom, eventually that means we're going to break through the bottom, because what happens is they let you go through the bottom. And this is what happens, right? You come down, test, real big bounce, and then go. Come like that, right? And at that point, if we fail up here, right? If we fail up there, so all this is just noise, right? Understand this, it's all just noise. Because if all that happens is that we just fail up here to make our way down further, right? So to really take everybody out, because it's never just going to go straight down to, because everyone's calling for 886 of this entire move. Okay, so this is the next thing you got to understand. There's a bigger play out there. There's always a bigger shark. So everyone's calling for this to happen, which is the 886 of this entire move, which is 80% retracement, 80 to 90% retracement. So somewhere in this zone, everyone's looking to buy their Bitcoin, right? And I go on every forum and I say that would be amazing, because at that point I would take a loan out, because I don't see that as a risk anymore. This thing can drop down to like here. I don't see it as a risk, because at that point I want to get as much money as possible into my Bitcoin, because this is not a number that you'll see again. And I know that we said it here, but at the end of the day, if we were to come back down here, then fundamentally it's doing something different, but it's still being adopted and still being held by the world's most elite. This would be the worst scenario, okay? But it wouldn't look like just straight down. It would look like this, and then there would be some sort of failure here, right? So you'd have to find some sort of failure, because then what you'd do is you'd find some sort of five-way sequence, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and fail. Once you fail at that point, now you can look at it and be like, okay, I guess it's time for me to get out, because it's failed to make a new high, right? You always want to look at Bitcoin from a point of view of like the new highs. If it cannot make a new high at that point, you want to be more cautious, right? The only time that it made no sense, and there's not just tons of times where I shouldn't say the only time, there's tons of times where it doesn't make sense. But one of the most recent times that didn't make sense was in this period right over here. I'm going to show you guys a Bitfinex. Okay, right here. Because if you look at here and you look at here, it looks like a higher low, but we had this happen next. Now, this was COVID, right? And so now here's another example of a double top, right? You have a big move up, big move down, another retest 10 in January, right? And then boom, by the time we get into March, we're crumbling down. And see, like, this is what I'm talking about. Do you see what I mean, where it doesn't go straight back down to 3, it comes back up and retest, right? Even here, and this is where we have to understand, like, the way this market always works, it always comes back up and retests and shows you. Retest and shows us. We haven't really had that on a weekly level. Like, if you actually look at it on a weekly level, we haven't come back and really retested anything. Like big candles like this. These are big candles. These are not. So therefore, when we're looking at this, we need to see some sort of retest back up for us to be like, oh, okay, I'm now full bearish, right? I have people telling me they're full bearish now. I'm like, wow, that really sucks. Like, and I'm telling you guys from a point of view, like, okay, so let me show you guys something. Let me show you something here. I got into Bitcoin here. This is when I got in. Okay. I happened to get in at a really good time. Like I knew nothing about trading, but looking back on it, that was an amazing time to get in Bitcoin. All happenstance. I just happened to hear about it, right? I saw it. I realized it was the future. And I went through all this not knowing what I know now, right? And just hodling, holding on for dear life. And I've retested and looked at the market all different ways. What could I have done better? What did I do wrong? How could I make sure I made the best play, right? Was hodling the best play for all this? Heck no. At the end of the day, I mean, hodling was the best play, but like realistically, there were other plays I could have did as well as hodl. Because like if you look at where I bought my first Bitcoin, it never came back down to it. So at the end of the day, it got damn near close. There was a point in time where I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, right? And there were people who bought Bitcoin all along here who were like, oh my gosh, why did I buy this thing? I'm now in the negative, right? But if they just held on, it takes off, comes back down, retest, and gone. At that point, they never really like never lost anything, right? But look at this. And we're on high time frames, so you guys can see like how the market moves on these higher time frames. And if you guys ever follow me on Instagram, I always say like when in doubt, zoom out, right? When in doubt, zoom out. This is zooming out. This is what zooming out looks like. You're not even looking at the hours. So like the price action's happening and you can't see it because at the end of the day, you're looking at it from a zoomed out perspective, right? And it's clarity, right? Because now you can see and there's no emotions involved in this. It's either going to do it or it's not. Right. Well, here's a gap in the market. So what I talked about right there, here's a gap in the market. So can we make our way down there? That is the bearish scenario of what could happen, where we're not in a running flat correction, where this is going to drop down to here, do a double top, do a double bottom, come back up and fail right here. Now, this is the first time I'm talking about this as well. Like I've never talked about this with anyone else. You guys are the first people to hear this. So I'm not making a prediction here. And I'm not saying like this is going to happen for sure. But if you were going to play out a bearish scenario, that's what it would kind of look like, where it come down here, close out all this, leave this, come back up, fail right here, get everybody excited right before, and then really come down and drop everything, right? Because when we look at the BLX chart, so let me take a look at the BLX. This is what I'm paying attention to. At this point, I'm not even paying. I'm so long-term in this now. I'm not even paying attention to, like, I'm not paying attention to a lot of stuff, but like I'm paying attention to the BLX still. But I'm also looking at just long-term plays. That's all I'm paying attention to right now. If we are going to drop down, so let me show you guys. So BLX, going to logarithmic. Fundamentally, we'd be doing something different than we've ever done before, because here's your trend line, right? And I'm not utilizing a trend line to kind of show you guys like it's got to hit the trend, but I'm showing you guys in terms of patterns, right? That's how I trade on patterns. I'm looking for similarities. That's what a matrix is. You're looking for similarities to happen, right? Like deja vu. Whenever you see deja vu, that's a warning sign. Matrix. All right. So when we look at what's happening in the market here, right, we can tell that the halving event that happened here, right, 378 days was the bottom. Okay, so this is basic math. You only go with what you have. You have dates. So here's the halving event in 2016, 546 days from the bottom. Okay, halving event in 2020, 511 days from the bottom. Well, this is the halving event in 2024. I've measured out 500 days, and that puts us right around November 22nd to December 19th. Really, that's a big skip, right? December 5th. So anywhere between November to December. That's roughly about 500 some odd days, right? If I go by bars, see 73 bars, 78 bars, 74 bars. So you can't predict this thing. You can just look at the market and look for the patterns, right? So if we were to play out on, but if you actually look at the market and how it is right now, we've never come down below this 1618 once we surpassed it. So when I say it'd fundamentally be doing something different, it would be fundamentally doing something different. And at that point, you can look at it and be like, it's getting ready to do something, and I don't know what, but it's going to take everybody out. And this is like search and destroy mode. So let's put on our map, let's put on our head and start thinking like, okay, market makers, what are they going to do? What is search and destroy mode? Okay. Search and destroy mode is when they literally take everyone out that's in margin. So they'll take out everyone to the downside, then they'll take out everyone to the upside, and then they'll make their move down, right? And this move, in order for it, I'm just paying attention to now the lows of the market. I don't even care about the highs. So now let's bring it down here. This is now the trend of the lows. Because all I care about is the lows. I don't, at the end of the day, I want to know, okay, well, if this is as high as it goes and we're not getting at this, I prepare for the worst, right? I think Lil Wayne said, prepare for the worst, and still praying for the best. But I'm already getting ready for the worst, because at the end of the day, I'm not trying to get caught off guard if this market starts wanting to head down. Now, here's an interesting thing, right? Just utilizing this as a trend line, right? Only point that it gets past is right there, but you have 1, 2. So utilizing the same thing, this is the price channel, okay? So very well could come right here and then continue going up. And this is where the market, this is where it's like the bull markets are getting shorter. So this is the scenario. Mass adoption is happening in the markets, right? You have places like USA owns, let's see, how many BTC does China own? This video will no longer be in China after this, because they don't want them knowing this. No Bitcoin mining for anyone. All right, we will keep some Bitcoin for ourselves. Does China actually control Bitcoin? Oh, that's not what I want. There was a chart, a graph that showed how much Bitcoin China owed, and it was China, USA, and then a bunch of other companies. I'm gonna have to ask, like, who owns all the Bitcoin? Who owns the most BTC? Okay, because this is what you kind of pay attention to, like, where is the money, right? Might be here. Oh, bits and cash numbers, ATM. No, I dropped it in the trade room chat a while ago. I'll find it again. But I saw this and I'm like, interesting, because China was like one of the top, right? Number 5. And then USA was up there as well. Maybe I spelled China wrong. China is no threat. Bitcoin mining still huge through China. Maybe it's USA and China own BTC. And I'm using a Brave browser. None of this should be. USA and China own Bitcoin. How China went from trading Bitcoin. OCC Brian Brooks says China owns Bitcoin. I think it might be here. If I can't find it here, then I'll find it later, and then I'll put it in the chat. Okay, I can't find it here. Okay, so anyways, China owns a lot of Bitcoin. So does US. I'm gonna drop in the chat later once I find it. But like literally, what that would be would be the play to get everybody out and get everyone fearful. Then it would be the market to start shooting up. So at that point right there, but this is where it's like, this is the bull market to the halving event. You can see, right? We don't touch this low point here. we touch this one here. This is now the low of the market. And now here's an interesting thing. Now, this is what I find very interesting. Let me go up here. Now, once you realize like what I'm pointing out to is that anytime the market has come to this point here, it's really just taken off. So look at this, except for here and here. This was COVID, right? And I've said this before in one of my calls that it almost feels like this shouldn't have happened, but it did. And if you look, when you actually look at it, it's very funny because it's like it happened for a reason, but the low of the market was still here. But it came the higher low and it was 886. This looks exactly like this, except smaller. So it goes back to the same thing. And I've been saying this for the longest time. I'm allowing the market to prove to me that it's going to do something different. Because at the end of the day, there's so many similarities in this market. So what I would like to see is something like this. And this is now the bullish scenario, right? And you can see I brought my trend line up. I want to see it shoot up, hit this top trend line by this date. May. So after they raise the first interest rate, I want to see it hit there. And then I want to see it start coming down and hit this bottom. So right about here by this time frame, December. Shoot up, hit a higher low, come back, wick everyone out, 886 move, come back, and then go. All right. And at that point, when we get into the next halving event, we're talking about Bitcoin getting over millions, right? At this point, it's following this trend. So I look at it from a point of view, like I said, it goes back to the same thing. I allow the market to show me what it's going to do. I don't prejudge the market, right? Now, I played out the bearish scenario for you just in case you guys can look at it from one point of view. And then you guys can look at it from another point of view in terms of like, what's the bullish scenario? For me, the bullish scenario still has the most amount of confluence because at the end of the day, it goes back to the patterns, right? I trade off of the patterns, the matrix. I'm looking for the market to do the same thing, right? And it's because of the fact that everyone's so emotional, right? Emotional cycle. So emotional cycle. Image. Oh, I should have showed Wall Street sheet. Okay. There we go. So we can see that the emotional cycle happens in this market. Oh, sheet. Oh, why are you doing that, bro? Why don't you just want to show me? I think I have to download it, don't I? Oh, I don't want to download any QRs. All right, let me get this. Save image as sheet. Don't know why you're being like that, bro. All right, so at the end of the day, okay, boom. Okay, good. Recording. Almost forgot if I was recording or not. All right, at the end of the day, here is, no, that's not it. There it is. Okay. At the end of the day, here's what I'm looking for in the market. I'm looking for this to happen. And for me, until this happens, I have to believe it's happened. Like, wait, let's see. Here. It's happened here. Heck, it even happened here. Right? And that even happened faster here. Right? Like it hit that bottom real quick, right? And based off of the amount of users that are in it, I feel like the bottom gets hit real quick, like faster. There's less users, right? And by the time we get to here, because we're looking at two things, as we continue going up in price, we're also looking at adoption, right? So we can see that the move from anger, right, to depression takes a bit longer, because by the time we're here, this is depression. People were like, oh man, we're back at this point. And everyone was bearish. Everyone was saying Bitcoin's going to drop back down to 3. It's going to drop back down to 3. I don't think it's going to happen. And it's like the emotions in the market, right? Disbelief. So we get into disbelief. People get into disbelief. Then all of a sudden we're in hope. Hope was this. And here's the crazy thing. When you actually look at the price action, hope was 60K. A recovery is possible. Wow. Oh my gosh, this is very possible. And we are still making our way up hope. And we haven't got into optimism yet. Optimism will not happen until we make our way back over 60K. Now, if we make our way back in 60K, at that point, then it's just belief through euphoria. And if it's going to be belief through euphoria, and it's going to be the market shooting up, it's not going to be small. It's not going to be like, it's going to be quick. It's going to be a lot of money funneling in. So why do I think that? There's two things that will end up happening that'll push the market through. One goes back to the U.S. interest rates. If the U.S. interest rates, if there's insight, let's just use this like this. If there's information right now that's going around that they're going to raise the rates in March, but they're only going to raise it by 0.25%, right? So that takes it from 0.25 to 0.5. So it's still cheap for you to borrow money. Okay, it's all speculation, by the way. None of this is financial advice. It's all for educational and entertainment purposes only. Let's keep on saying that. USA interest. Okay. Oh, where'd it go? United States interest. United. There we go. So if interest rates are now going to shoot up to 0.25%, right? From 0.25 to 0.5, right? It's really only going to go up to here. Then from there, right, we might make our way up to 1.6. But at this point, at 0.5, it's still advantageous for you to hold your loans. Not until they actually start bringing it up, right? If we look at the timelines, so they went 0.25 November, they didn't raise again until October. That was weeks. If they bring this up here, they might not do it again until summertime or until May or June, right? So which means that they'll probably raise it in March, but they won't raise it again until August. Like I'd say summertime, so just June, July, August, which means you have enough time for us to push up. And I honestly think there's more gearing up to us pushing up than for us to be pushing down. Because at the end of the day, everyone's saying we're heading down, we're heading down, we're heading down. There's liquidity, there's all this stuff. And I showed you guys there's liquidity all over this place in the Bitcoin chart. You can go all over the Bitcoin chart, you'll find liquidity, right? And at some point, it can come down. And this is where it's like Bitcoin can head to zero at any time. Well, yeah, but no, because it's the adoption curve, right? People have adopted it. At this point, it's like, what's a valuable price for Bitcoin? Well, if I saw Bitcoin at $1,000, I'll probably buy more. Because at the end of the day, their countries are owning this. And there must be some reasons why countries are holding this, right? And I believe that. Also, as the flagship blockchain, there's a whole bunch of other things that you can go to, such as like like one world currencies and like all that other stuff. Like there's so many things you can look at, and cryptocurrency kind of brings that in for me. And Bitcoin is the big daddy of them all. So until something else takes it off, I'll go with Bitcoin. So for me, until we get this move, I'm in a bull market. And this is I will use this because it's all about feelings, right? Optimism, we're in hope. A recovery is possible. So until we get into that, boom, a recovery is possible. Everyone's thinking a recovery is possible. If we start turning around, then that's the recovery is possible. If we start, no, so now here's the next scenario. What if it was this? And we had euphoria, but we never had euphoria. No one ever said, I'm a genius and we're all going to get rich off Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's the heartbeat, it needs to happen. No one said that off of this. Like this was the move for you to actually say it. And this would have been the way down. But then we made a higher low, a higher high. At that point, if there's complacency, right? If this move was complacency, this was sufficient. You didn't need to go up to 69. So for me, there's been no euphoria. There was this. Right? We just didn't come down as low here. So could we come down and sweep? Yeah, we can come down and sweep. Could we go up? Yeah, we can go up. So what happens? This is all inconclusive. What that means is that this is why like you can't really do anything when the market's inconclusive. It's just a giant doji candle. Doji candles are probably the worst candles ever because it's not anything. It's not going up. It's not going down. It's just kind of there, right? Now look at it from here. There's 3 months of going down, 3 months of going down. There's lots of patterns I can find in here, right? At the end of the day, if this is going to be our downward month, then February needs to be our upwards month. If we can't continue going down, okay? And I'm saying this from a point of view of looking at now, even looking out further, we're now on a monthly, right? At the end of the day, at some point, we need to make our way up. And you can look at it from this point of view, right? In 2017, we shot up to here, and none of these bull markets look the same. So you can't, and this is the next thing. If none of these bull markets look the same, we can't really utilize anything else except for emotional cycles and Elliott waves and different stuff. And this is why I brought up the SPX, S&P 500, so you guys can see there was double tops there. There was a double bottom, a sweep, and then a continuation up. And it could do that. But at the end of the day, it would still have to apply into the whole thing of the Wall Street cheat sheet. So this needs to apply for me personally. At the end of the day, you can utilize and think about it the any way you want. But for me, it just makes sense that the emotional cycle will play out because I've looked at it and it's played out all the time. And at that point, once we get into complacency is at the point where everyone thinks that we just need time to cool off for the next rally. This is actually where complacency actually sounds like, when it's like, we just need time to cool off. But this is how people talk when they don't understand how markets move, right? We just need time to cool off. We don't need time to cool off. You need to get the hell out of this market because it made a lower high. At that point, it's like, I need to start pulling profit. Like this should say realistically, the smart, like if you were to look at it from a point of view, like what you should be saying is, I need to start pulling profit. When people are saying, I'm a genius, we're all getting to be rich, that's when you have to say, I definitely need to start pulling profit. When people start saying, I'm going to buy more in margin, got to tell everyone to buy. If someone comes up to you and says, buy Bitcoin, and never told you that before, you need to be saying, oh crap, I guess we're getting close to the top. Like, and these are the things, like right now, listen to the words that your friends are saying. Yo, is Bitcoin good to buy? Yo, should I still be in this? Yo, I'm scared, man. Bro, fam, like, what should I do? This doesn't sound like euphoria. Bull runs end on euphoria, not on anger, depression, and disbelief. Right. And so these are things of like understanding of like, where are we in this whole entire cycle? Right. And the thing is that this is on the internet. How many people do not understand this is baffling to me, because I can pull this up and this makes absolutely no sense. It didn't make any sense to me until I started looking at Picasso. I watched all Picasso sessions. I watched all his favorite sessions. I went through it, And it wasn't until he started explaining this to me, that's when it started making sense, because it's about the emotional sentiments. This is how markets fluctuate. All markets fluctuate like this. Like there's ebbs and flows. There's water that comes in, the tide comes in, raises all ships, right? And this is the tide. At the end of the day, this is the tide. And then it comes down, it goes out, right? No money. Like at the end of the day, the billionaires who got in right here haven't made any money yet. And they want to make money. So at some point, there needs to be some sort of push, capitulation, anxiety. Oh my gosh, denial. Oh no, panic. What the hell? I should have took profit up here. Capitulation. And then anger. When people say this, when you get into panic, everyone's selling. I need to get out. You know what you got to be doing? Start buying. I'm getting 100% of the market. I'm getting out of 100% of the market. I can't afford to lose anymore. Start buying. Who shorted the market? Why did the government allow this to happen? Start buying. Listen to your friends right now. What are they saying? Panic, capitulation, anger. While we're right here, their emotions are here because on a time frame. And so now I'm going to show you guys this is like when the markets are fractal. Now you're going to understand how the markets are fractal and how it affects people's emotions. Okay. Watch. I'm going to wrap up with this. Now, if everybody is saying that here, why do you think they're saying that here? Because the markets are fractal. So while we're playing out, right, this on a big time frame, we're also playing it out on a little time frame. Disbelief, hope, optimism, belief through euphoria, complacency, anxiety, denial, panic, capitulation, anger. Everyone is right here right now. Angry. I bought Bitcoin at $30,000. You said to me that it was supposed to go up and I'd never see these prices again. And I'm here again. I'm going to beat you up. This is what you're hearing right now, right? You're here, but you have to understand the time frame that you're in. You're in a 1 day and you're here. I zoom out to the weekly and I'm here. We are not in the same place. See what I mean? It's because the way that I see the market and the way you see the market are different, because you're over here on the 4 hour looking at all the price action and looking at everything. And you're allowing the price action. You're not even a trader. This is talking to people who don't trade. If you're an investor, looking at the price action is probably the worst thing you can ever do, because at the end of the day, and looking on a 4 hour price action as an investor, useless. Because like, where are you? Right? Now here's the next crazy thing. You want to see it again? I'll show you something crazy. Okay. So I showed you that one there. When it loads up. There it is. Played out there. Disbelief, hope, optimism, belief through euphoria. 2 of these cycles happening in one on smaller time frames. But as soon as you go up here, when you get up here, it doesn't look like anything happened. When you get out to the weekly, does that look like we went through an entire cycle? Heck no, because where's the blow off top? This is what you're looking for. You're looking for the blow off top. So just understand, when people are talking, you have to start understanding what time frame are they looking at. That's the number one question I always ask people. It's like when people ask me a question about what's happening in the market, I always ask them one thing: are you an investor or are you a trader? I'm an investor. Okay, so what's happening in the market? Nothing. Oh, I mean, it's red. Who cares? You're an investor. How long are you expecting to invest for? Oh, I want to get rich real quickly. That's the issue. The issue is that they haven't identified what type of investor that they are and the emotions that they're actually feeling in this market, right? They haven't sat down and written out, when do I want to see my take profit by? Like, when do you want to take profit by? If you're investing in this market, when do you want to pull money out? right? If you don't know when, you're already making the mistakes as an investor. Already, I have a 3-year plan, a 4-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. I have ETH sitting in a liquidity pool that I'm not going to touch for the next 4 years because I don't care about it. I have another coin called DeFi Kingdoms that I'm literally going to play for the next 4 years because I don't care. I got Cardano and I'm putting it in Sunday Swap and I'm going to put it in for the next 4 years because I don't care about this. And then I have coins that I talk about every Sunday that I don't care about because as soon as they do 100%, I take profit and I add to my long term. I have some long-term stuff and I have some short-term stuff. So therefore, I'm always in the market. And then I margin trade Bitcoin. So I'm always on the 1 hour looking at it and how it moves. I consider the 1 hour like the blood flow, right? If you like for me, like this is like all like this is like at this point now, you're looking down here, you're looking for a trade, looking for an entry for a margin trade. I am not looking to invest on an hourly chart. Because at the end of the day, what's the point? There's absolutely no point for me to invest on this chart unless I'm looking for an entry. Well, if I'm looking for an entry, I'm looking at zones, right? So ideally, as an investor, I want this zone. I want $11,000. As a trader, it doesn't really matter where it goes up or down. But as an investor, I want this. As a person who avidly invests into cryptocurrency over the last 5 years, this would suck because then my portfolio would go down and therefore it's just down. But it would be great because it's another opportunity to buy it at that price, right? And this is where the long-term vision of where cryptocurrency is going. If you don't understand where the long-term vision of cryptocurrency is going, I highly suggest you start reading about there's a book called The Sovereign Person. There's one book called The Sovereign Person, and there's another book called oh man, it's been a while since I read that one. It's about Bitcoin. So you just type in Bitcoin in Amazon. I'm gonna put in a book list in my thing, on my Instagram, and also underneath this page. And there'll be links towards the books that I'm talking about off of, if you look at the description on this video. So when you go to the YouTube video, there'll be a description on the bottom. You can look at it there. And I'll put a description of the books I'm talking about. You can go buy them from Amazon. They're dirt cheap, but they talk to you about being self-sovereign. They talk to you about where Bitcoin is, why was it made, and what's happening. You need to understand this stuff, especially if you're investing into it and you don't even understand why it was made. Because now when it goes up and down, you're going to be paying attention to price action and be scared. It's not about being scared. When others are fearful, that's when you get greedy. When others are greedy, that's when you get fearful. Right now, everybody's fearful. So for me, I look at this. Here's what I look at. Where everyone's fearful. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. This is where they are. Oh, depression. We're in depression. Oh, that means we're about to get ready for a sucker's rally. This is a sucker's rally. This isn't real, right? Let me show you this. And this is like, I'm simplifying this, right? Then nothing's this simple. But at some point, we need to make some sort of higher low. Once we make a higher low, right? Higher low. Let's make some sort of higher low. Disbelief. This is a sucker's rally. This rally will fail like the others. Like, you're gonna either hear this is a sucker's rally or this rally will fail like the others. What is everyone saying right now? This will fail like this. Because once you've seen a lot of failure, what do you think you're gonna see? Everything's just gonna be failure to you. Failure, 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 failure. Guess what? If it is, it is. If it isn't, it isn't. It doesn't matter, right? I showed you two scenarios of how this plays out, and both of them could be right. Or none of it's right. At the end of the day, no one can guess the market, no one can tell you the market, but you have to have the right psychology in this market to be able to make money out of it, right? And to be able to take money from it. Your goal is to take money from the market. When you have an opportunity to take money, always take money, right? So back to this trade here, because at the end of the day, there is no coins I'm looking at this week because the market looks trash. But you're going to look at coins. Like I said, the number one thing you can do is go on to CoinGecko. And if you're a dollar cost averager, find something in this list in the top 100 and become a maximalist. Like, if I can give you one thing, except for this coin, do not become a maximalist in Shiba Inu. Please do not. but any other coin, become a maximalist. Crow is a great coin that you can become a maximalist in, right? LeBron James just signed something with them, and they do this, and they have that, and they do that. Like at the end of the day, become a maximalist is one of these coins. And here's the next cool thing, okay? And I put this on my Instagram. Coins that are under $1, right? There are a ridiculous amount of coins that are under $1 right now that are great coins. AMP, VeChain, XEM is old, Dogecoin, CHZ, dope, One, Gala, XLM, HBAR, Rose, GRT, Crow, XRP, IOTA, BAT. I wouldn't buy BAT because I'm getting it for free right now, just being on the Brave browser. If you don't know about that, reach out to your upline to talk to you about that. Make sure you're utilizing a Brave browser. It's the most secure browser. The person that invented the Brave browser was the guy who invented Firefox. He left Firefox because Google bought it out, and he invented the Brave browser, and he's giving you Brave tokens, which is the basic attention tokens. It's literally it's actually pretty dope because literally just for surfing the web, you're getting paid in crypto. Algorand and then Loopring. Boom, you got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 coins you can go research right now that are under $1. Pick one of those, become a maximalist. Anyone, doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, that's how you get like really wealthy in cryptocurrency. It isn't by buying a bunch of coins, it's picking one coin, understanding it, and just dollar cost averaging into it, and then taking the profit when you have the time, when you have the chance to. Sounds very simplistic, but oftentimes the simplest things are the way things happen. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Don't miss DeFi Kingdom. That's all I gotta say. If you don't understand DeFi Kingdom, get on DeFi Kingdom. Because that is the dopest place to be. Let's see this. Repeat, please. YouTube channel, the name, yeah, okay, boom. All right, yeah. So realistically, at the end of the day, what I'm looking for at Bitcoin right now, I'm still looking for it to hold the zone. Looking for support right here on the 1 hour. On the 4 hour, I'm looking for it to hold the 50. The 50 EMA is kind of like what I'm looking at on the 4 hour. So we just closed 1 4 hour. I would really love for this 4 hour to come up. But honestly speaking, if I was to look at this is the 50% 618 of this move. I would really look for it to turn around here. Ideally, if it's going to turn around, this is the place it should turn around. You can go on the scalper and you'll find some sort of trade. If it doesn't turn around there, it turns around earlier. It would do something with the 50. And I mean, like the next thing is like if this makes a higher low, which there's no, like at some point it needs to make a higher low, right? So you need to catch the higher low. So if it's going to turn, and for me, I look at like if it's going to turn on the 50 or the 50, I would rather it turn there. But there's no imbalances there on the 50-minute, and I go down to the 5-minute. Let's see. But at this point, when I go down to, I don't like going down to this time frame that much. I do and I don't. I mean, if you guys know me, I've been down in this time frame and I've done some magnificent stuff. But the only thing about being in this time frame is that you're on such a small time frame that the market could do whatever it wants at this point. But if let me bring this lower. This is the actual. Oh, wow, that's Confluence. Okay, so yeah, I'd be looking for it to come off of that box right there, which is the 50% 618 of this move on a 5-minute. So for me, which is still the same box, but also narrow it down, right? For a trade purposes, it's 200 pips. I'd be looking for it to stay on top of that box. Now, if they cannot do that, then you just keep on zooming out. Look for the 15 to cross. Like realistically, your safest play is wait for the 15 to cross on the wait to the 15 to cross 50. And then if you're looking for a swing, wait for this to hold. If this doesn't hold, then no swing, no bueno, because that means it cannot hold. But like market structure kind of shows like 1, 2, and this is like a horrible 3 on a large time frame. There is a trend line here that we broke once, so we can break this again and come back up. Like realistically, I don't expect this to move until we get closer to this date right here. But before this date, it might move. Right? I don't think there's any big news happening this week. Actually, sorry, what am I talking about? It is NFP week, so that means most likely the news, which will also coincide with I'm pretty sure Friday. Pretty sure NFP is on Friday. Non-farm payroll is on Friday, I'm pretty sure. Let me just see. So I'm expecting this market to move. Yeah. So Thursday, whoa, that's a lot of news. Okay, never mind. There's a lot of news. And then NFP is on Friday. All right, so like we might come up or we might come down. If this thing breaks here, I'll probably take a swing at it here. And then if it breaks, this is my next place. If we break here, I will gladly wait for it to show me strength down here. But if they can't show me strength down here, at that point, then wait for the high time frames. All right, guys, that's it for today. That was a lot of sauce. That was a lot of information. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. You can watch the recording on YouTube. It's on my YouTube channel called The Manny Fraser. I'll be dropping it there once I upload it. And then just make sure that you guys are in West Palm Beach for convention. All right, guys, that's it.